Hello, Savannah. I am going to read through your paper from 21st April 2020. Does that mean I'm terribly late getting to it? No, not really. Okay. Doing research in the field of photography was done through 2 interviews with successful artists in one place significant to the acceptance of photography. By asking each interview the same questions and researching the place, I was able to pull similarities and differences in the field. After reading over everything, many things have become clear about the field. Cool. In the title, I'm thinking you meant an inside glance into photography, maybe? Okay. Patrick Rader, the first person I interviewed, is an idol of mine. I found his work through his wife on YouTube. Tess Christine, his wife, has over 2.5 million followers and has boosted his popularity as a photographer. I've been following them on their journey since middle school. On Instagram, he goes by the name of Modern Gypsy. A major part of his work is of people. Maybe people are a major part of his work. Below is the interview through email with Patrick. This interview did contain mild profanity in the response and has been replaced with asterisks. Oh man, I love profanity. All right. Okay, when did you get into photography and why? I grew up skateboarding and snowboarding, among other extreme sports. A byproduct of these sports is documenting them and some of the crazy shit, I'm guessing, that you do or think you're doing. So my friends and I began rolling around to different skate parks or mountains to try different tricks and capture them on camera. I think that started when I was in 7th grade or so. Using a camera I found in a storage box, it all fell together. I can't say if photography was a choice. Inherently, it comes with the territory of extreme sports. Oh, very interesting. That is not at all where I thought he might be coming from. Now I'm wondering where he lives. I don't know why. I guess because I know like a lot of skateboarders are from California. I feel like that kind of came up there, but I really don't know anything about it. Why would someone pick photography as a career? What are the benefits and downsides of your job? If you did not go into this, what would you do? Patrick, that's a tough question because it is not for everyone. It can be a cruel passion full of trials and tribulations, not to mention long nights and early mornings, picky clients, and even letting yourself down when you can't quite capture what you're trying to express. As a freelance photographer, oh, it seems like a new paragraph. As a freelance photographer, I have almost no idea when my next paycheck is coming or who it is coming from. And living in New York, that can make some months very stressful. Yes, I have experienced that, especially right now. On the flip side of the coin, there is the fact that I can make my own schedule, have a whole week off if I so desire, travel to foreign lands, be my own boss. Things like that make the job worth it, in my opinion. Seems like a new paragraph because it's about something else. If I wasn't a photographer, I would go back to advertising, which is what my degree is in. I never went to school for photography or took a class for it. I just really enjoyed how loose the structure was over the advertising world. Maybe I just watched too much Mad Men in college. Possible. What are some of the struggles you had to go through with picking this career? Some struggles that I encountered and still struggle with is self-expression. Like any passion or hobby, the better you get, the harder it becomes. You have to constantly raise the bar and one-up yourself not to mention compete with the world's most popular camera, the iPhone, which has made everyone a photographer these days. Finding your own path, vision, style is very overwhelming right now with so many people on Instagram influencing us to try this filter or that filter. Interesting. How long did it take you to get a gallery showing of your work? I moved to New York and had a showing 2 weeks later. Bam! All right. I had just graduated college and had a fire under my ass to prove myself in the Big Apple. I was walking around the village and saw a gallery and walked straight in and asked the curator if he had any room. Lo and behold, they were looking for one more spot to fill for a showing? A show? 2 weeks from then. That is incredible luck. Man. I had never printed any large-scale work or done any framing, so it was a very steep learning curve for me. In retrospect, my work was not even close to on par with some of the other artists in the gallery at the time. It was a humbling, exciting, and horrifying experience all at the same time. Wow, I know that the price of printing and framing, because I have photographer friends, is like, that's one of their biggest hurdles to overcome. What are things you've been restricted on while taking photos? I'm not sure what that meant, but it seems like Patrick knows. Some restrictions that limit any creative is funds, plain and simple. There are many places I dream to shoot in the city or across the world. They almost all require money. Monetary restrictions aside, there is a classic artist block. No one warned me that sometimes ideas don't just happen. You get all blocked up in your head and go a little crazy. Imagine being the thing holding you back. Drives me nuts sometimes. I am wondering after that about, he says these places require money. I have some maybe theories about why places in New York City would require money for him to shoot in, but you might want to do a follow-up question on that. What are some common misconceptions about the industry? Whenever I see artists in films, it is almost always through rose-colored glasses. You don't need the apostrophe there, even if Patrick put it in, because that's just plural, more than one film. not possessive, like the film owns something, like the film's trailer or the film's subject. Nobody shows you the fact that you spend all week editing and the client comes back to say, change these and re-edit these. By the way, do you have these from a different angle? So that week you spent editing is now going to turn to a sleepless weekend where you stay inside while your friends go out. 90% of your workflow and time will be spent sitting in front of a computer or getting to a location, my experience anyway. Interesting. The good news is that if you love your images, then editing is just another exciting adventure you get to tie into your work. What's your favorite method to shoot photographs? My methods differ when it comes to shooting. Depending on the model of the situation, we can be sneaking around bars and coffee shops or construction sites, and we need to be fast and sneaky. I spend weeks putting together mood boards and getting permission from locations to shoot there. When possible, I bring a small or large speaker, depending on location, and get a vibe going. That way the client and I can be on the same wavelength. This almost always helps get everyone on the same page and keeps the energy levels high. If you're shooting, I think he means if you are shooting all day, keeping spirits up is a must. Again, like he talks about needing to be sneaky, but I don't feel like that's something everybody knows about or encounters, this issue of like not being allowed to be in the places where you do your job. That's kind of a unique, an unusual thing. Recommendations, words of advice for someone thinking about photography as a career. My advice would be to go easy on yourself. You will almost always be your worst critic. Another part of art that comes with the territory, because rarely does our work satisfy us to a point that you feel like you nailed it. But when that moment hits and you're sitting back looking at your final image saying, fuck, I'm assuming, yes, that's it. Remember these moments. That's what makes it all worth it. Spend time in museums, looking at paintings, read books, find inspiration outside of the scope of our profession. That sounds like great advice. Most of my inspiration comes from movies, paintings, or songs. Mixing mediums has not always been how I looked at photography. For a long time, I looked at Instagram or magazines trying to emulate other people's work. Ooh, there you do need an apostrophe, because that work belongs to people. While that did suffice for some time, at the end of the day, I was just trying to copy other people's work. I wanted to have my own voice and my own ideas, so I stopped looking at Instagram and started going to the Met. You don't need to capitalize all those letters, because it's short for the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, one of my favorite places I haven't been to in a long time. Or looking online at different paintings from different eras. No apostrophe there, because it's just plural. Or marble statues, almost anything other than pictures. And also, like, if you're, who's this person again? Patrick? I've already forgotten his name. If he did the punctuation in a non-standard way, so, like, the general rules for that would be that each time you have to change it, no, let me not say that. That each time you have to put in little brackets SIC, which is a little Latin thing meaning like that's the way they said it, and it's not the standard way. I mean, most people would say the correct way or the right way, but I just don't like to use that term because there's no ethics in writing. I mean, there is, but it's not about that. Coming back to my point. For our purposes, I mean, you could do that, but honestly, I'm not going to really trouble myself about it if you just want to, like, fix those tiny things. I mean, because really that's reserved for situations when it's important to preserve the sense of what they were saying, you know, even though they said it in a way that was, like, not standard. Anyway, let's see. Lastly, because the previous paragraph was a bit of a tangent. One thing that always warms my heart about photography is that we'll never grow old, I hope, or grow out of style. We will always want to make memories and look back at them. We will carry our craft with us everywhere. We go on forever creating and bettering oneself. Wow, you had a good interview. Lots of good stuff there. I met Ryan Badois through social media. He has a fashion, portrait, and commercial photography. He's worked for Hearst Magazine's Studio D and magazines such as 17 Magazine and Harper's Bazaar US. He has also worked with modeling agencies such as Elite. Sorry, just checking my time. Okay, IMG, The Society, and the Lions, and Wilhelmina. Below is my interview through email with Rain. Me, when did you get into photography? When did you get into photography, and why? I got into photography when I was studying college graphic design. I wanted to take my own photos for my design projects instead of Googling them. It made my work more personal. I wanted my photo to fit exactly to my concept. From there, I started taking more portraits, and then it evolved to editorials. Why should someone pick photography as a career? I think you should love photography. If you make it a career, just like any other career, you have to have a passion for it. What are benefits and downsides of your jobs? If you did not go into this, what would you do? Benefits, I manage my own time. I can pick the jobs that I want. I get to be my own boss and have more creative freedom most of the time. Downside, it's a very competitive industry, and I have to hustle. There are a lot of talented photographers out there, and I have to find a way to stand out and market myself. I don't work for a company, so I have to do all the work as far as finding jobs. Sometimes it's busy, and sometimes there's none. If I did not get into photography, I'd probably be a flight attendant. I love to travel, and what's the best way to travel for free is to do it for a living. What are some struggles you had to go through in picking a career? I started doing shoots for free at the beginning. I had to find another job in related photography to have a consistent income just to pursue it, as have most people I've known who have done this. At first, I had to build my portfolio for trade. I had to make consistent work for clients before clients could trust my vision and started making money. It took a couple of years to find my voice in photography. How long did it take you to get a gallery showing of your work? My first show was in 2016, 4 years after I started my photography career. It was for my master's degree showcase at Milk Studios. What are some things you've been restricted on by taking photos? I really didn't have any restrictions as far as creativity. People hire me because of my work, but of course, I'm working for a client. I have a mood board guidelines to follow. Now I'm curious to know more about how they create mood boards. What are some common misconceptions about the industry? It's all glitz and glamour. It's fun and inspiring, but it takes a lot of hard work and perseverance. What are your favorite methods to shoot photographs? I love shooting with natural light, whether it's the studio or outdoors. I like it when I am able to move around and shoot in different perspectives. I'm not a technical photographer, so I just go with my gut, and if I see something that works, I take it. Recommendations, words of advice. It takes a lot of practice. Find something you like to photograph and stick to it. Enhance and explore the direction. Build a strong portfolio that speaks to your brand. So when people see your work, they'll know it's you. Collaborate with other artists. Don't be afraid to reach out to other people. Okay, because I am kind of running out of time. Oh my god, I'm going to talk about Stieglitz and Gallery 291. I have a sort of personal connection to that, which I won't talk about because that wastes time. Okay, you talk about this place because it was being critiqued, shooting in pictorialist style. Okay, nice. In conclusion, the patterns. Photography comes naturally. Are you thinking that because of the quote about how we'll always want to preserve memories or something like that? You have to love it to do it. It's harder than you think. It takes a lot of work, just like it was hard to be accepted as an art form. I mean, it's probably true. I'm not like super excited to hear that though, because I'm like, I feel like people would say that about a lot of fields, like maybe all of them. Individually is what makes you stand out. Many benefits, rocky waters toward financials. That's an important thing to maybe focus on. The difference, the passions are formed and approached differently. How are they approached differently? How did other people say it too? It's desire and passion, constraints, struggles, and victories. Maybe a path was taken. Yeah, so you get into saying some things in this last paragraph that like don't really tell us much. The strongest part of your work, check to make sure we have enough time, cool. The strongest part of your work to me is when you get into this idea of Stieglitz and that studio. I would love to have much more about how did Stieglitz help to make photography an accepted form of art in society? What was that space like, Gallery 291? It definitely would be possible for you to find out more data about that because it was an important place. So like, what was it like? What part of town was it in? What was the space like? How was it set up? Those kinds of things. How did they fund it? I believe Stieglitz had money or someone else supported that gallery. I'm trying to remember now. It doesn't matter. You'll find out. With your interviews, you need to take what they said and pull out what you want to discuss and have your words be the main thing. So like you've given us, it seemed to me, and maybe I'm wrong, you've given us everything they said and everything you said. So like a transcript of the interview. But what I need you to do with the interviews is really pare it down and pick and choose what's important and then have you explain why it's important and what you're getting out of it. So that this is really your paper and your thoughts, framing other people's ideas rather than you just kind of like reporting back the thoughts of other people. But that said, I think you had a lot of good quotes there, so you should be able to pick out some stuff that's really great. And just get more specific at your ending too, right? About like, what exactly did you find out? What exactly did you see? You know, reference back to some of the exact quotes that you got, rather than, it's easy to end up saying, for anybody to end up saying things that are just so general. You know, it's hard, but it's worth it. It's fun, but, you know, you got to try. Yeah, I think once you dig into your interviews a little bit more and pick out what's important in there and also decide what to take out, because that's a really important part of this assignment, is deciding what to leave in and take out, you'll be in better shape. Hope that helps.